Well, my mother was born Margaret Clark. She was the eldest of five. She was born in 1908 and her mother was local and her father was from RD. My mother was born in a small house now on the Sea Fin Road. It is long since turned into a shed. She later lived down the Dublin Road, and that's where they lived when their parents died. Her mother died very young. When she was 11, she got an illness, and then her father died about maybe a year later. And he had a bad fall from a cart and he got brain damage and he never really recovered. And they were orphans then, and their grandmother, who was Mary Toll, lived locally on Trasna Road, and she took them in. But my mother was the eldest, and then she had two younger sisters, and then below them the two boys were only 5 and 7, so the grandmother couldn't look after them, and they were sent to Bernardo's home, and they were there till they were adults. When Mum was 14, then she was hired out, and there was a hiring fair every 3 months or 6 months, and it was placed in Uri at High Street there, round where the bypass is now. And the young ones were all stood there, and the big farmers came in and chose the ones that they thought would suit to go to their farms. All of the girls were hired out to the bigger farms down in County Down or further away. Mum always said it was a great education because she was very good at housekeeping. She was very proficient. They had the separator and it removed the cream from the milk, and they just had a turnover churn and it churned the cream into butter, which was different than most of the local people who had the staff churn, and they had to push it up and down for maybe an hour, and the butter tasted different. So that would have been something she would not have learned if she had always just been round Killeavy. And she was a great cook. They trained them in every way. They were great housekeepers then when they came back to be married. Later on, when Tommy came back out of the home, Nazareth home, he was adult, and then he was hired down there with the Ormo Bakery and worked there for a lot of years on their farm. And then he moved to another big farm group, and he worked there then till he retired, and then came back to live with his sister, but he never really had a home up here anymore. And my other uncle, he went off to England and he joined the army. He was in the coal mines before that, and decided that joining the army was a good way of getting out of the coal mines, so he chose to do that. He never came home only to visit. He married an English woman in Durham, and he seldom came home, just for the odd visit. Mum's two sisters were married locally, and they all married older men. I think at the time all the younger people were away off on hire. There was nothing here for them to do, and they were all hired and away, and the only people around would have been maybe the eldest of each family who were holding the farm, and then they were the only ones about. So the three sisters married men that were much older than them. Mommy married Joseph Teggart, and he was a well-established family down in Sea Fin. His brother was a priest, and all the other brothers were all away to America. He had one sister, and she died young from pneumonia, and the house was burned. Our home was burned on the 19th of September in 1959, and we were left homeless and had nothing at all, just what we stood up on. Then we moved to a rented house over beside the Foresters Hall on the main Burkhill Road, and we had a new house built on Yallock Road in 61, and then my father died a short time later, and my mother lived there till she died in 1990. She was 82 years old.